9 Stoic Habits to Dominate 2026. Stop wasting your mornings. Why do you keep waking up tired of a life you haven't even lived yet? Not physically tired, existentially tired. Every morning you wake up with a clean slate, and every morning you hand it over without a fight. You check your phone before you check your mind. You absorb noise before you establish direction. You let the world decide who you will be today. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire under plague, war, and betrayal, and he still warned himself every morning not to become weak. You live with comfort, safety, and options, yet your discipline collapses before breakfast. This is not coincidence. This is conditioning. Your mornings are not neutral. They are programming. What you tolerate in the first hour of the day becomes the ceiling of your character. What you delay becomes your identity. What you avoid becomes your future. Stoicism was never about calm words or pretty quotes. It was a survival philosophy for men who could not afford mental softness. Epictetus trained slaves to become free internally. Seneca prepared for exile before it arrived. Marcus prepared for chaos before opening his eyes. And you negotiate with the snooze button. This video will not inspire you, it will expose you. 9 brutal Stoic habits, not to feel better, to become stronger. If you stay until the end, you will never experience mornings the same way again. And if this pressure already makes you uncomfortable, that's the point. And the morning as the battlefield of identity. Every morning is a test, but you treat it like a warm-up. You don't wake up, you drift, you delay. You scroll, you react. The alarm goes off, and instead of rising like a soldier, you hide like a fugitive. From what? From effort, from silence, from the weight of your own existence. You were not born to huddle under covers while your potential expires by the minute. You were not designed for passive consumption, for dopamine rituals, for digital sedation. You were built to decide, to rise, to act, to set your mind like flint and march into the unknown. But instead, you outsource your identity to algorithms and the false urgency of notifications. Before you've taken your first breath with intention, you're already someone else's pawn. And the tragic part? You think you're just tired. You think it's normal. It's not. It's weakness practiced daily. It's spiritual decay disguised as a routine. The battlefield is not later. It's now, and you're losing it before your feet touch the ground. Marcus Aurelius journaled at dawn, not because he had time, but because he knew who he'd become without it. He wrote to remember what the world would try to make him forget. And you forget before you remember. You say you want clarity, but clarity only comes to those who meet the morning with confrontation, not comfort. So ask yourself, who am I becoming every morning I waste? Because you're not starting your day, you're setting your trajectory, and direction is destiny. 2. Comfort is the slowest form of suicide. Your bed feels like safety, but it's a coffin lined with excuses. Each time you hit snooze, you rehearse surrender. Each lazy stretch under warm blankets is a silent agreement to stay weak. You think you're protecting your energy. You're actually feeding your decay. The Stoics weren't obsessed with waking early because of productivity. They did it because comfort makes cowards. And discomfort forges clarity. Seneca warned, indulgence makes the mind soft. So what are you indulging in at 6:00 a.m.? Softness, delay, delusion. You say you'll start when you feel ready. But readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision. It's a knife you draw against your lower self before it chains you to mediocrity again. Nietzsche said we must build temples from our instincts, but you've turned your instincts into prisons. You worship pleasure, you sacrifice purpose, and worst of all, you think discipline is suffering. No, discipline is the refusal to suffer endlessly. You're not avoiding pain. You're trading short-term ease for long-term erosion. The pain of getting up is clean. It stings, then it strengthens. But the pain of staying down? It corrodes your soul one morning at a time. You want to feel powerful again? Strip the blankets. Stand up. Own your morning like a battlefield commander, or die slowly in the soft arms of convenience. 3. The morning mirror test before your phone. Before the noise. Before you betray yourself with routine, stand alone and look yourself in the eyes, not to affirm, not to admire, but to confront. This is the mirror Epictetus held every dawn, a silent tribunal for the mind. Who are you choosing to be today? Not what are you doing, who are you becoming? Most people flee from this confrontation. They bury themselves in screens, in coffee, in motion. Anything to avoid facing the man they keep postponing. But Stoicism demands audit. Did you follow your values yesterday? Did you waste your time? Did you let weakness dress itself up as reason? Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." But if you can't even face your own eyes at sunrise, you've already lost your why. You've already traded purpose for comfort and role play. Here's the test. Can you look into your own eyes each morning and say, "I did not lie to myself yesterday"? If not, you've got rot to cut. And here's the beauty. This test doesn't need perfection. It needs brutal honesty. It needs a line in the sand that you will not cross again. You are your own judge, your own executioner, your own savior. But if you skip this moment of truth every morning, you'll end up chasing approval in every mirror but your own. Want to build mental strength? Start with self-interrogation, not self-affirmation. And when you fail, good, you've found a crack. Now, seal it with action. 4. Declare war on the snooze button. The alarm rings, you hear it, you feel it. And in that single second, a war breaks out. One side whispers, 5 more minutes won't kill you. The other answers, 5 more minutes just killed your word. This isn't about sleep, it's about identity. Every time you hit snooze, you're not just delaying the day. You're voting against the person you swore you'd become. You're reinforcing that comfort is your king and discipline is negotiable. Marcus Aurelius didn't rise early because he was superhuman. He rose because he refused to be ruled by impulse. He asked himself, was I made to huddle under the blankets or to do the work of a human being? You know the answer, but you don't act on it. And that's where the rot sets in. Snooze is a liar's button. You promised yourself last night you'd rise early. You broke that promise before your feet even hit the floor. Schopenhauer said, we forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. But here's the kicker. We forfeit the last fourth by sleeping through the hour meant for transformation. You don't need more hours in the day. You need fewer lies in the morning. Win this war once, and everything changes. Lose it daily, and you become the architect of your own erosion. Want to train your mind? Start where your excuses do, in the first 10 seconds of consciousness. Break the loop, stand up, make your bed, and remind yourself you do not obey comfort. Comfort obeys you. 5. Rituals are not optional, they're armor. The world does not care if you're ready. It arrives either way, loud, unpredictable, hostile. And if you meet it unarmed, you bleed. That's what mornings are for. Not to scroll, not to drift, not to ease into the day, but to suit up, mentally, philosophically, existentially. Jung warned us, a man who is not conscious of his inner life is a slave to it. A morning without structure is a mind handed over to chaos. No sovereignty, no clarity, no resistance. You wake up empty. You fill yourself with noise. Then you wonder why the rest of your day feels hijacked. Morning rituals are not luxury. They are psychological rebellion. They're the daily declaration that the first battle belongs to you, not your inbox, not the market, not someone else's emergency. Marcus Aurelius began each day by reminding himself of what he would face: rude, arrogant, deceitful men. Why? To brace his emotions, to choose his response before the world dictated it. You journal not because it's poetic. You journal because it's strategy. You write to see. You write to own. You write to sharpen the blade that will cut through the fog of unconscious living. These aren't habits. They are armor. And if you don't wear yours, don't be surprised when the first hit breaks you. Want to keep collapsing before noon? Ignore your mornings. Want to become unbreakable? Make your first hour sacred, non-negotiable, yours. 6. Delay nothing. Begin with pain. The first thing you do each day is a signal. To your body, to your brain, to your soul. It tells the system what matters. And if that first thing is comfort, you've already lost. Comfort is a sedative, and like all drugs, the cost comes later. The Stoics weren't masochists, they were realists. Seneca trained his body with cold water. Musonius walked miles through dust and heat, not to prove anything to others, but to remind themselves, pain is not the enemy, weakness is. When your alarm rings and you hit snooze, you're not just buying 5 minutes, you're selling your will. The first win of the day becomes the first surrender, and that surrender compounds. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why can bear almost any how," but he also warned that without discipline, your why becomes theater. It becomes a story you tell yourself while avoiding the mirror. Want to reclaim your mornings? Start with something hard, no delay, no negotiation, no warm-up. Whether it's cold exposure, silence, or lifting iron, choose the struggle before the struggle chooses you. Pain in the morning is pain with purpose. It's training, it's command. It's a reminder that you're the one driving, not the cravings, not the fatigue, not the excuses, because the world will punch you eventually. And if the first strike of the day didn't come from you, it'll come from someone else, harder, uninvited, and you'll flinch. So hit first, hit on purpose, and build a nervous system that doesn't panic when life gets violent. 7. Journal or rot. You think you're thinking, you're not, you're looping, repeating the same fears, same regrets, same fantasies, mental clutter disguised as reflection. Without a system to extract the noise, you become the noise. Marcus Aurelius journaled during war, alone, surrounded by death, betrayal, pressure. He wrote, not for Instagram, not for legacy, but to stay sane, to self-regulate, to prevent the mind from eating itself. This is not a gratitude list. This is psychological warfare. A page is not passive. A page is a weapon. It clarifies what's real. It confronts your lies. It tracks your cowardice and exposes your patterns. Journaling is self-interrogation. It's confrontation, not comfort. What did I avoid today? What did I lie about? What did I choose instead of purpose? Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The journal is your tool for that exposure. It's where you shine the flashlight inward. It's where the excuses die and awareness begins. Skip a day? Fine. But know this. You just gave the chaos inside you one more chance to grow unobserved, to metastasize, to control your next decision without permission. You either direct the mind or it directs you. And the difference between the two is often just one blank page and 10 brutal minutes of honesty. 8. Cold exposure is psychological recalibration. You say you want strength, but you avoid discomfort. You say you seek clarity, but you never shut off the noise. You say you want to dominate your mornings, yet every shower is set to comfort. You don't need another motivational quote. You need a physiological reset. You need your nervous system to learn this. Panic is not the enemy. Reaction is. A cold plunge is not a trend. It's an ancient weapon repackaged. Seneca said, set aside now and then a number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress. The Stoics trained for discomfort, not because they liked it, because they refuse to be owned by its absence. Cold exposure breaks the illusion that comfort equals safety. You enter the water and your body screams, your mind races, your breath shortens, and that's when you take control, not when it feels good, but when it doesn't. That's the rep, that's the signal, that's the neurochemical handshake with your future self saying, I don't run from stress, I train it. Because when the cold is no longer an enemy, neither is the job loss, the argument, the rejection, the fear. You return to the day not clean but recalibrated, centered, emotionally weaponized. You don't need caffeine, you need confrontation. So next time you hesitate, remind yourself you've already been in deeper water and stayed calm. That's not a bath, that's identity. 9. Reflection is ammunition. You rush into each day like a soldier without a mission, no map, no target, no strategy. Then you wonder why you feel lost, why your habits don't hold, why your strength evaporates by noon. Here's the brutal truth. You don't lack time, you lack alignment. The Stoics didn't begin the day by checking messages. They began with a mirror, not of glass, of thought. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to impress. He wrote to prepare for war, the war within. He rehearsed insults before they came. He visualized loss before it struck. He reminded himself, this day will test me. I must not fail myself. This is not journaling for aesthetics. It's self-weaponization, mental armor. And if you skip it, you show up to battle mentally naked. Don't just live the day, preload it with clarity. What do I expect? Where will I likely break? What principle will I not compromise? That's your edge. That's where discipline is born, not in effort, but in foresight. Because the enemy is not surprise. It's being surprised by what you already knew was coming. Start the day by confronting yourself, by writing truths you're afraid to say out loud, by exposing the cracks before life does. That page is not decoration, it's ammunition. Use it. And if you're serious about building that level of internal power, comment below. I don't negotiate with weakness. Let's see how many are truly ready. The Stoic IronMind speaks with clarity, not cruelty. It cuts illusions, not people.